Yeah, so hello again. This is our second year at Liquid Shop. Um, Thanks for having us again. I'm Peter, representing the radio and the IT team in particular. This is going to be let's say, a semi-technical like topic and talk. It would be maybe another talk to present our radio in its entirety, like for KPIS, it was the case. Maybe shortly I will take an attempt so that you know about the project and you can better assess how important our mission is. We think it is, and it's important to get our liquid soap things and problems fixed so that we have a smooth service. So Lamajun Radio is growing 5 years old this year. It started as a music radio, so that's maybe important fact number one. Another important fact is that we are a completely independent uh, community radio, broadcasting only on web. And maybe I can say that this is the only, so we know very well in a small country like Hungary. Yeah, we are based in Budapest, Hungary. Who are the others doing similar stuff, and we are kind of the only active web-only community radio. And you maybe follow the news about Hungary and on the voice of independence in a very tough political climate as well. So we think that our mission is adding value to a better Hungary, and maybe also because of that, our like initial music focused coverage over the years started to become broader, and now we are covering other topics as well, not explicitly political, but as at least I think about it, everything. I mean, we kind of whatever we say is political in a sense, but in an indirect way. So through music, through our shows on art or literature or philosophy. So these are actual topics that we cover through our shows. So the picture you can see is you see two lamajuns and the lemon. So the decks are the lamajuns. A lamajun is a Turkish national dish, or a famous Turkish dish. It's kind of a pizza. It's essentially a meat-based meal, but we have a superb vegetarian recipe for it. It's a vega version of it, very delicious. The recipe can be found on our website, which you can see here. It's lamajun.hu. It's lemon because DJing lemon for the music, our music foundation, and also because lamajun is often enjoyed with lemon on top, and also by lentil soup, by the way. So that's a famous combination, and that's why we have this unofficial logo. The official one you can see in the upper right corner. And these are some facts and the map where we are. So with all the fluctuations, like, shows coming and leaving, that's a natural process. We are at around 50 plus international shows, mostly with show hosts from Hungary, but also abroad, even in the US and on other continents, not at the moment. So Europe and the US. Actually, the one in the US guy is leaving us these weeks, so maybe it's only Europe right now. But like I said, it's actively changing, and I guess it's a natural process too. because it's really an experimenting radio. So when I mentioned music many times in the last 3 minutes, you can see how important music for us is. As you can imagine, an independent and poor. So actually, I can say we love to be poor, because we think that this is kind of one of a key to our independence and also the variety and the freedom that we can enjoy. And this is, I guess, a pattern that, people, I mean, we in the programming like sub team, we see that like very fresh and motivated project and crews are joining us with the shows. And as they go grow maybe a bit established, then they may leave because they don't have time for it any longer, but that's fine. So we are I see the radio as an incubator as well. Yeah, so we are like between 10 and 15 at the moment volunteers who operate the radio, plus the radio show hosts, which are a lot. But that's like this 10, 15 people who run the radio. And the IT team is one of the bigger teams. It consists of 5+ professionals who earn their money doing software. So it's a very capable team, and it's actually also gives us a dilemma whether or not, I mean, how deeply we are a software project, because we have this mission to run a professional, in the sense of quality, community radio, and we cannot afford to be a hacker club, as one may put it. And if I switch so that's a dilemma, and like a live dilemma that we have, and we have to be very careful about committing ourselves to software projects, because we are kind of capable of doing it, and at least these people in the IT team, they enjoy it a lot, but we have other things to do as well, so we have to find a balance here. So this is our stack, which is it's basically the same as last year. We just toggled a couple of versions here and there. So I will go from the top to the bottom. So we obviously have a front end that's lamajun.hu. You can check it out. I will briefly mention that since last year, the front end got a major facelift, so it looks much fancier. And when I say front end, I also mean the app. And this is in like Vue and React Native, like Nux/Vue/React Native /TypeScript details. So this is these are the languages that we implement our front end in. It's completely, you see the color legend. It's our development from scratch, and everything which is purplish colored. Such as a custom shows DB. It's written in Flask /Python. We call it Archie for archives. It's a Hungarian. It's like a play of words in Hungarian. So we built it from scratch. In particular, one colleague who is probably listening here, János, greetings from Setúbal. So he is and was kind of the architect and the main contributor of this project, which we are very proud of. And this is a custom database and web application for maintaining our shows and episodes and metadata about shows. And then as we dig deeper, you see here Azuracast. Again, greetings to the Azuracast team, probably also sitting in the audience, and thanks again for your great contribution. We are still relying on your great technology. We recently did an upgrade. It was a longer process to be able to update to more recent versions of AzuraCast. We are now on version 0.17.7, and as you can see, our front end is using the interface to AzuraCast, the AzuraCast API, mostly for player metadata like cover art and whether or not it's a live show, a live stream, and title and subtitles, things like that. And our custom, so Archie, so the database layer is using AzuraCast to upload pre-recorded shows to AzuraCast. And we store everything in cloud on DigitalOcean. We might switch to another provider, but at the moment we are with DigitalOcean. It's kind of a legacy. It's our second provider, and we are kind of happy with it. We just read some news about them, which may make us move in the not so near future, because for us it's work, and like I said, we have to be very careful about such commitments. And then here is for this like community and conference, the most important thing, our custom auto DJ. It's technically speaking, it's a Liquidshop script, which is our development. What are the news? Maybe if we have time for it, we can come to it. It's maybe, I guess it's being about unfair with the employees and how they spend the profit, but I don't want to go into politics in this talk. The script is run, the Liquidshop script is run by the Liquidshop engine, obviously. Our script is now on version 2.1.4. And as you can see, the features we are using for AzuraCast and Liquidshop. So AzuraCast gives us playlist stats, very useful stats now with the recent AzuraCast version, very rich stats, much richer than the one we used before for like almost 3 years, I guess, and general metadata on what is being played. And from Liquidshop, we get the schedule, as I will show you in a minute, the fading, processing, like fading in and out, and jingles. So the update since Liquidshop 2 is that we managed to do this migration from 1.4 to 2.x. Currently is the 2.1.4 version. We are kind of bound to what the AzuraCast version is like offers or embeds. We could mount a custom Liquidshop version inside AzuraCast, but it's a bit tricky. And again, it's this balance. If we go too nerdy or not, we know how to do it and we understand the benefits, but it's work again, and at some point we decided that we stick to the version which is shipped with AzuraCast. We managed to got rid of with this shift to the 2.x Liquidshop version. We managed to get rid of the flood of error logs when we do stream relays. That's good. And what I promised in my last talk was more than a year ago. We did this major front-end update. Now, what I also hope for the last time we hoped for as a Llama June IT team is to keep the context-specific jingles which we used to have with version 1.4. Now, unfortunately, with the switch, so our like core scheduling operator is still the switch, and the transitions, as far as we know, they disappeared. So we cannot do the transition. We cannot do or add the jingle in the context of a transition. So now we have a single transition, and with the transition, the jingle playlist we play, so it's static for now, and we would like to. It's kind of a regression for us. We would like to add back the context-specific jingles and make them as context-specific as possible. For this talk, the focus is going to be, although I'm at half of the time. Yeah, thanks, Romain, that you confirm it, because we are never sure if it's our lack of knowledge on liquid soap, or it's really like a limitation in the language. And the next topic is another, such problem for us, that we call it a delay, and this is actually the title of the call. Scheduling dynamic length radio shows. So that's the challenge that we would like to somehow fix and solve with liquid soap, and this is what we mean by that. So I call this semantics DLS. Is just an abbreviation. Again, dynamic length radio shows in fixed time slots. We have two cases here. The one case can be called shortened than slot case. So please look at this visual presentation of the dilemma. So let's say we have this week's Tuesday and next week's Tuesday. We have a weekly roster. So we have, if we schedule a show, say at 4 p.m. in the afternoon on Tuesday, then this show will be played again in a week's time. And since we don't have the resources to, adjust schedules on a weekly basis, and we rely on the show hosts that send in, either they play live or they send in submit pre-recorded stuff. We just have to assume that they fit somehow inside the slots. So say that we don't have a show before 4 p.m. We call this, so we have this in-between music that we play. We call it offer music or offer content. And at 4 p.m., we have to interrupt. And then we play in this case, a pre-recorded show in this example, and say that this file is 53 minutes long for a 1 hour slot. What we do here, we stop here, and we don't want this show, this episode to restart. And we come back with the offer music. And in a week's time, what we want is that we start the show again and do the same thing again. Okay? It's I guess it's a logical and quite straightforward operation. Yeah, in this example, the show host didn't record anything new for the next week, but it could be another one which is longer or shorter. So it can be a 50 minutes one or a 70 minutes one. And we don't have the resource to process submitted stuff, that is, say, okay, if it's like longer, like in this case, 64 minutes, then we don't have the resources to kind of process it. Okay, so what we do, if it's the longer than slot case, what we do here is that we have to interrupt here because the show finishes at 5, and there may be another show afterwards. So we have to stop here. And next week, if there is no new submission for this slot, what we have to do, we have to start the show over. We don't want the show to resume because it's a new context, it's a new week. So we just live with the fact that the submitted episode was longer. And a note here that all our interrupts are faded. This is important for a smooth transition, but I guess it's needless to say. Okay, so how, like I said, I call this semantics the DLS, dynamic length shows. And what are the implementation approaches that we came up with? First, obviously, we try to fix it with inside the Azuracast. And what we found out that there are no nested interrupts in the Azuracast scheduler. So Azuracast introduced at some point their own scheduler, which uses Liquid Soap as a service, as a fallback, but it's their implementation. And as far as we know, you cannot interrupt an interrupt. I will show how it would work on the example. The second one was which would be our favorite, the native Liquid Soap implementation, where we don't have to leave Liquid Soap. And this would be like, conceptually, we know what to do. It was back then, I guess a year ago at least, or more, a suggestion by Sam to use the delay operator and the skip. I will again explain how it works in details. The problem is that there is an issue with the implementation, at least it seemed, and Romain at some point you confirmed. So we cannot use it at the moment, and we fall back to our we fell back to our original solution, which is using the once operator plus external daily reloads. We call it a hybrid solution, because it requires a help from the OS. So it's not in this sense a native Liquid Soap solution. Obviously, it has limitations. For example, the reload must not be during a show. So if we have like shows non-stop, then it would not be an option. This is not the case for Lamajun, but ideally, so it's not an ideal solution in this sense. Okay, so let's see what the problem was with Azuracast. So in the longer than slot case, you see here we have two interrupts. First, you have to interrupt the offer music to start the show. Then you have to interrupt the show itself so that it doesn't, exploits the slot. And we found we didn't, put in too much effort into this, but we thought that with the Azuracast scheduler logic, it wouldn't be possible to solve. The native Liquid Soap solution would be based on the delay operator, what would mean in the first case, the show is shorter than the slot case. We have to make sure that this, the playlist, the file, doesn't start over. And we would do it with the delay operator. We delay the validity of the source for a week or for an hour, for whatever time. And after the delay, next week or the next hour or 2 days later, the source will be valid again. In the second case, in the show is longer than the slot case, we don't need a delay, but we need a skip so that the show will not, so the episode will not resume. Now, this is where we have this issue with the implementation. We cannot skip the source. When we call the skipped operator, it will be skipped the next time. So it would be next week when the show would actually start. Okay. And what we do, so our production solution is the hybrid solution, which is with the once operator. So what we do is we limit the validity of the source by once, which means that the source will become invalid forever. And that is why we have to Wednesday night, so Wednesday in the morning, like early in the morning, every morning we restart the Liquidshop process, so the once operator can become valid again. And here the limitations, I mentioned one limitation. Another limitation is that we cannot, within a day, we cannot use the same source, for example, every hour, which is not just a theoretical possibility. We had show ideas with such a schedule that we couldn't implement because of these limitations. Yeah, so that's basically, that was the meat, so to say, what is our like dilemma at the moment with liquid soap. But we are at the moment very happy that we are on a recent version. It's very stable, like the previous version was. So we are very happy with the general quality. It was really just not, a complaint talk. It was just maybe to share this dilemma with you, and maybe we can come up with a more elegant fix that we have at the moment. So for maybe if we come to speak at this forum next week, then hopefully I can report, or a colleague can report on context-specific jingles that they are in production, and this DLS semantic fixed and implemented inside Liquidshop completely.
Thank you for the presentation, Peter. I just wanted to let you know that Sam and I, we tried to use the time we were at FOSDEM to experiment with a couple of things. And that problem was specifically pointed out by Sam to me. We worked on it a while. We thought we could come up with a solution that could have been in the 2.2 branch, but it was, the long story short is the fallback and switch operators needs to be completely rebuilt from scratch. They are some of the most oldest part of the code, and both for the transitions and the scheduling, I think we could do much better, and we hope to get to that. Maybe Sam wants to comment too.
No, I don't have any comments right now, apart from we'd like to work on this, or we plan to work on this soon. Yeah, hopefully this should be. But again, the one operators we use, it wasn't designed really to be more than once in the whole show, so it was more like an experimental. So I'm not even sure why it's working when you reload it, or you're really pushing it to the limit, and you this is not the way it was intended to be used. I'm glad that it works for you, but we should really take time to think of a decent set of operators where this kind of dynamic scheduling can be done in a decent way. But we have to find the right basic operators, and also we have to implement them in the right way, which is not straightforward, let's say.
Yeah, another use case that came up from actual radio is being able to schedule things to start on a specific time and say, this is the planning for all the files, and I'm on this file to start at 4:23 p.m. And I just want to be able to declare it. Like I give you a spreadsheet, I want the streamer to do that. Currently, this is not. We've always been more like a callback system where, oh, I need something to play. Give me a URL. Let's prepare the file. We're ready. Let's go. And we don't have that level of granularity at the moment, but this is definitely something we'd like to bring at some point.
Yeah, I was mentioning, like, when we talked about it, that the radio automation, it's always complicated to fix the limit. I guess we are going to have a word about shower gel in a moment, but the limit between the scheduler, like, just call back and ask for things, but then it's not necessarily very precise, and sometimes you have rules that have to break in. That's when you need to start the show on the top of the hour, or at any other time for that matters. That's not easy to do. And I have another kind of similar issue sometimes, is when you have a dynamic playlist. You know, it's not a single show, it's like many files, and you have to decide when someone adds a new track in there, and you just watch that directory, and you don't want to repeat something that had already happened, but you want to play the new files as well. Is should I do a reload now? Do I have to manual myself the directory and send a reload to Liquidshop? And it's not so easy, but yeah, generally I think the solution lies into having an external scheduler and maybe some rules, like some other automation softwares just say, all right, this is how an hour looks like, and we have logs for it. And then if the time is 5 minutes to the new hour and the show has ended, we just keep note how much we have played of it, and we try to find in the library another track that does just 5 minutes, or a combination of many tracks that are allowed to play throughout, that lasts the 5 last minutes, so you don't start a new show, but you have fillers, and you just fill from random medleys or ads or whatever you have that can just fill the last minutes before you get back to the top of the hour. Maybe we need to talk about it a little bit more, but it's kind of a specific, like, old way of doing radio automation, but I'm pretty sure that it's kind of linked to the same feeling that Peter has.
Thank you guys for everything, for your work and for the invitation.